Hi everyone, I'm Alex from My Progression and welcome back to our next video in our ADHD series. Natalie explained in our previous video what ADHD is and how it can affect a pupil who has this condition. A link to this video can be found in the description below, and if you haven't seen it, please go and watch that first so we're all up to speed. In this video, we're going to look at methods you can use to engage your pupils with ADHD, making sure that your classroom is the sanctuary they need to learn and grow. Now, we know that children with ADHD will all present differently, and the methods we're going to cover will help tailor your support depending on whether they struggle with being inattentive, hyperactive, impulsive, or a combination. Before we look at any of the steps to support your pupil with ADHD, remember that your pupil isn't being difficult on purpose. All behaviour is a form of communication, and the way their ADHD makes them react or behave can be perceived as challenging or difficult, when actually it isn't always in their control. So let's have a look at some methods to support your ADHD pupils. The first step that you can take to support your pupils with ADHD is to take the time to understand how they feel. All too often, children with ADHD are subject to stigmas that make them feel really lonely, misunderstood, or confused. They might find that other pupils don't want to play with them due to their impulsive nature, or their teachers often tell them off because their hyperactivity makes it hard for them to sit still for a full lesson. They might find that they have lots of different thoughts all at one time, making it hard for them to focus or understand. As their teacher, sit down with your pupil and ask them questions to really understand how they're feeling. Be conscious of the time that you choose to do this, because if you're likely to be pulled away for another meeting, you won't be getting the full benefit. These questions that you ask could look like, would you rather? Or if you could change this, questions for younger pupils. Or what's going on around you? And what's going on with you for older pupils. Again, this will be different for every pupil, so make sure to avoid putting words in their mouth and always be patient, as it might take them a moment to put their thoughts and feelings into words. You'll probably find that their body language will also tell you a lot about how they're feeling, so do keep an eye on their non-verbal cues too. Remind them that ADHD isn't a flaw, and avoid focusing on the negatives of their condition, because they'll probably do that themselves. Phrases like, I knew it, or I thought so, could make the pupil feel insecure or uncomfortable. So instead, let them talk and paraphrase back if you need to clarify. This could look like, so what you're saying is that when we use the interactive whiteboard, you become distracted by the buttons and colours. The better you can understand how your pupil feels, the easier it is for you to create an inclusive environment around them where they can feel supported and heard. Maintain open communication and don't be afraid to go back to the conversation a few times until you really understand. Your pupil might not be as forthcoming in the first conversation, but as they get more comfortable and they get to know you more, they'll learn to open up more. After you've had the discussion with your pupil, it's now time to agree how you can work together going forward. There may be some reasonable considerations that you can make for your pupil, such as making sure they have a fidget toy on their desk, or letting them finish their task in the quiet area if they're feeling overwhelmed. But it's also important to make it clear what isn't acceptable too. For example, when you feel overwhelmed, it's okay to ask me if you can wear your ear defenders, but it isn't okay to shout at Miss Jackson who is helping you finish your work. Next, be conscious how you react to your pupils with ADHD. They may have spent most of their life watching people roll their eyes when they walk into a classroom because they're perceived as difficult, or having staff members telling them, you don't understand because you didn't listen to the instructions, when in fact, the ADHD makes it difficult for them to remember what they've been told. Your pupil with ADHD may ask you the same question multiple times. They may be louder than most, despite you telling them to be quiet, or they may impulsively move on to another task before you've asked them. In any situation like this, remember that your pupil isn't trying to be challenging, but instead they're managing their ADHD the only way they know how. Approach these situations with patience and a calm demeanour in line with the agreement. Don't get me wrong, it can be infuriating having to tell the same pupil the same thing time and time again, but if you react negatively to their symptoms, it could break the trust you have between them or make them feel like they can't ask you for help in the future. Let's not forget you are the biggest role model for your class. If you react negatively, the rest of your class is likely to see this and start to mimic your behaviour, leading to the pupil feeling more isolated. So always lead by example. You should treat your class with equity, not equality. Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources or opportunities. Equity recognises that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. When we're talking about equity, we mean giving each of our pupils what they need to succeed, not necessarily giving everyone the same support. For example, a neurodivergent pupil might require more of your time or support to complete tasks or pass assessments, whereas your high-achieving pupils may only need some guidance in the right direction. For pupils with ADHD, this means understanding how their ADHD affects them and putting support in place to positively impact each symptom. For example, if a pupil with ADHD fidgets and has sensory needs, you may provide them with fidget toys, allow them to sit in a carpet area where they can stretch out, or even change their seat altogether to a beanbag or stool if appropriate. A lot of pupils with ADHD struggle with their memory, so implementing memory prompts into your lessons can help reinforce the learning that they are experiencing. This could be used as mnemonics, which are devices that help you remember through rhymes, phrases, and catchy words. For example, when I was at school, I was taught to remember the order of the planets by using the phrase, "My very easy method just speeds up naming planets," where every letter of the word stood for a planet in the correct order. Another great example is "Naughty elephants squirt water" for helping pupils with their geography. You might find that pupils respond well to written instructions. Have you tried writing the tasks for the day on the board to help your pupil keep focused? Or you could have a timetable where you can interchange the classes or topics each day to help your pupils remember what they will be working on that day. Whether your pupil has ADHD or not, the longer you leave it before coming back to a topic or subject, the more likely they're going to forget it. So regularly recapping important bits of information or tasks will also help the important information become ingrained in their brains. This next step is something that you will likely do for all of your pupils, but it can be particularly useful for pupils with ADHD. Make sure that you have a structure for your lessons, days, and weeks. As previously mentioned, we know that pupils with ADHD can struggle with their memory. Implementing a structure is a great tool that can support their memory because they know exactly what to expect each day or week. They don't have to worry about figuring out what they should be focusing on each day, and in the long run, this can improve their memory and focus too. Depending on your pupil's struggles will depend on how you create a structure to help them. For example, if your pupil struggles with remaining attentive, having a structure that's broken down into small 20-minute sections can make it easier for them to focus their attention. If your pupil struggles with their impulsivity, you could even add 5-minute sections to your daily structure where they know they can get their energy out without causing a distraction. You might find that you have a broad structure for the whole class that they follow, but a more specific one for your pupil that your teaching assistant looks after. Ultimately, there's no one way to do it, so make sure you know how your pupil learns and acts is crucial. Our next step is all about seating plans. How you can maximise your seating plan so your pupils with ADHD are supported and able to learn to the best of their ability. When planning your seating, you should consider what the pupil needs in order to learn. For example, if they struggle with being attentive, seating your pupil near a window where they can see PE lessons or by the door where people walk past could be too distracting. If your pupil fidgets to improve their focus, sitting them by the front of the class where they could become a distraction for the rest of the pupils could also be an issue. For more information about how to maximise your seating plan, view our series on mixed ability classes. And while you're there, click like, subscribe, and click on the bell to keep hearing more from my progression. And last but not least, if your pupil has an EHCP, make sure you follow this to the letter. An EHCP, or Education, Health and Care Plan, will be in place for pupils who require extra support for significant or long-term educational needs. These plans are carefully put together and include anything educationally that your pupil may need to thrive. If an EHCP is disregarded, then the pupil is likely to struggle, which in turn could have long-term effects on their schooling and have negative consequences for the rest of the class. It is also a legal document, so it's imperative that you know what's on the EHCP and follow it to the letter. If you're unsure about anything that's written on an EHCP, ask for support. It's always better to ask than assume what support your pupil may need. It's so important that any steps you put in place or any conversations that you have to better understand your pupil are documented and shared with any relevant staff members. In a primary setting, it's likely that you'll be their main teacher, but you may need to share their reasonable considerations with their teaching assistants or lunchtime supervisors. In a secondary setting, you might have had a breakthrough in your class, but then they're going to be taught by 10 other teachers before the end of the week. In these situations, sharing what has been agreed or discussed is crucial to make sure the pupil feels supported in all settings, not just your classroom. You also may find that the form teacher or pastoral lead may be the one having these discussions with them about how to manage their condition. If this is the case, make sure to follow up with them. While you might not be responsible for having the conversation, you are responsible for making sure it has happened and that you're fully informed afterwards. It goes without saying that supporting a pupil with ADHD can come with its challenges, but it also can be one of the most rewarding parts of your job. By taking the time to understand your pupil, forgetting the biases or stigmas that come with ADHD and approaching them with an equitable attitude, you're going to see a really positive change in the way they act and learn in your classroom. Remember to embrace ADHD as an opportunity, not a problem, and along with structure, seating plans and memory prompts, your pupils are going to thrive with you. I've been Alex from My Progression, and let's keep your career in motion.